Hi guys, thanks for waiting. This is part 13 of What If Kamen Rider Decade was in RWBY. So let's start. Chapter 21, The Warriors Sworn to Protect All Lives. With Tsukasa and was, Super Sentai World. Which team used that one? Tsukasa thought as he snapped some pictures of the story's high robot. In his bid to try and go to the world of Black IX, Tsukasa had somehow accidentally ended up in a Sentai's world instead. One that he couldn't immediately recognize. Tsukasa did not usually cross paths with the Super Sentai. When he does, there tends to be something more important than socializing with them. As such, he did not know which team had what outside of a couple he was acquainted with. Lion heads on the chest were not much to really go on. The Shinkenga's Shinken O had one, and he was positive that THGE robot didn't belong to the Samurai Sentai. The rest of the body did not have many, if any, distinguishing features. At least any that Tsukasa could pick up on. The pilots are members of the Super Sentai, correct? Was, on the other hand, has never met a single member. He was only aware of them due to his book chronicling Riders' history and some of their interactions. I wouldn't have been surprised if we ended up in a different Rider world in your current state, but how did you manage to get us in a world belonging to a completely different set of heroes? Let's just find out what our role here is and leave as soon as we can. Tsukasa didn't bother answering the retainer. You're avoiding the question. How we got here is not important. What matters is why we're here. The destroyer was not willing to admit he has no idea either. Not helping matters was that, unlike the Rider worlds, he does not gain any knowledge regarding the Sentai worlds, if his time in the Shinkenga's world was anything to go by. And what exactly are you wearing? Speaking of his role, his clothes had changed for the first time in a while. Now he was wearing a white button-up shirt with a black waistcoat and a pair of slacks. Additionally, he also had a tie and a pair of glasses. Despite his clothes changing, he still had his camera with him. This is, Tsukasa looked down at his new attire before grabbing something from his pocket, a pin. You look like a salaryman, was noted. Hope not, Tsukasa said as he inspected the emblem pin. It was blue and was in the shape of a rocket with a golden planet orbiting it. Whatever he was, it was still better than being a Kuriko. Looks like they're about to finish things up. Tsukasa took a few photos as the Sentai cut down the monster with a charged slash with their sword. Just like the monsters the riders fight, it blew up in a massive explosion. Come, let's try finding them. This is going to be a long day. World of Double, Narumi Detective Agency. Foundation X. After calling Shotaro into the back room, and subsequently filling him in, the two-in-one detectives began explaining to the trio. Yes, Philip nodded, they're most definitely the ones behind the disappearances in your world. They're an organization that, above all, is interested in projects that would give them massive amounts of profits, Shotaro said. That's a rather big oversimplification of it, but he's correct. So what would they want with people from Blake and Ren's world? Sugo asked. Foundation X usually involves themselves with experiments like Gaia memories, cosmic energy, and the likes, Shotaro explained, but before he could say any more, Ren interrupted him. Gaia memories. Does it have any relation to the Gaia library you told us about? Yes. As I said before, the Gaia library contains the knowledge of everything that existed on this earth. Gaia memories are created and imbued with the knowledge of the subject it represents. For example, Philip took a green USB drive with AC designed to look like a gust of wind imprinted on it from his pocket. Simultaneously, Shotaro took out a black one imprinted with a purple J from within his vest. My cyclone memory contains the knowledge of everything to do with the wind. Shotaro's Joker memory has the knowledge of something more spiritual, victory. Cyclone and Joker. Armor time. Cyclone. Joker. Double. Two different memories of a green and black form came to Sugo. One where he fought who he was sure was, and the other where he was fighting a white rider with a white Kamen rider with a red driver that looks like it was missing its right side. And what do they do? Blake asked the two. Humans who use Gaia memories are turned into superhumans known as dopants. Shotaro put his Gaia memory back into his vest as he answered the Faunus's question. Dopants used to be a major problem a few years back. Philip and I used our Gaia memories to fight them as Kamen Rider Double. And this Foundation X are kidnapping people from Remnant and using them for experiments with Gaia memories. That's most likely the case. Although I don't know why they would want to do that. Shotaro said, they used to sponsor the production of Gaia memories but stopped after. Never mind, that'll just confuse you more. If they wanted to use dopants again, Foundation X would just create dummy kaijins, Philip said. There must be a reason why they would be taking people from your world. You mentioned something about aura, right? That everyone in Remnant has the ability to unlock it. Aura. Shotaro and Sugo, who haven't heard about it before, simultaneously said. Yes, but we're sure that it doesn't work away from Remnant. What made you two come to this conclusion? Ren and the other found that out, not me. Psst, are you understanding what they're talking about? Sugo whispered to his senior as they listened to the other three. Not at all. After we ended up in Sugo's world, we discovered that our aura wasn't working as it should be. We knew that dust that loses its power once it leaves Remnant's atmosphere and assumed aura was the same. How long does it take for aura to recharge once broken? Philip looked as he looked through Shotaro's shelf of detective novels. It really depends. What are you doing? Ren watched as the genius picked one out and inspect the cover. Shotaro, on the other hand, already realized what his partner was about to do. Wait, no. Philip, not that one. Despite Shotaro's protesting, Philip threw the book at Ren without as if he didn't hear him. Hey. However, the book didn't hurt as much as Ren would have thought it would. Right before it hit him, a pink barrier briefly appeared and seemed to have absorbed the shock of the blow. So that's what aura looks like. It's completely different than the Maskman's aura, Philip noted while the others were shocked. When he first heard of aura, he was reminded of the Sentai that he and Shotaro once fought alongside years back during the Kamen Riders and Super Sentai's fake war. That was. Assuming both humans and the furnace you've mentioned were taken, then aura must be the reason. Wait a minute, Sugo was most definitely not following anything. You just said aura doesn't work, but now it does. I'm just as confused as you are, Ren said as he picked up the book before Shotaro snatched it out of the teen's hand. Hey, Philip. Be careful with this. Do you know how much it costs to buy a first edition of The Long Goodbye? I thought you of all people would care about keeping books in good condition. Shotaro grumbled as he returned the book back to his shelf. You barely even read it much in the first place. Still. While the two detectives were arguing, the three-dimensionally displaced teens were talking amongst themselves. So how does this aura even work? Sugo was poking Ren to see if it would activate again. Why did you even think it wouldn't work in the first place? As I said, when we were in your world, it wouldn't work for some reason. We thought it was because we were in another universe, Ren explained as he tried to stop the former King of Time from poking him. The others assumed. I just followed them, Blake said. Guess you were wrong about that. Sugo snickered, and you didn't notice that when we were traveling through the worlds with Kadoya? Not really. In our defense, we were moving pretty quickly and didn't have much time to rest. So why did your aura didn't work when we were in that house? We were beaten up badly by that another decade. Nearly all of our auras were broken in the fight. I don't think we can really call it a fight. None of us even came close to scratching it. The exhaustion probably kicked in when we got away. That's most likely why we fainted in the first place, Ren theorized. So, you thought that you didn't have your aura was because you were in another world and not because of that beating we had. In hindsight, that was a much better explanation than other universe equals no aura. It seemed like a plausible explanation at the time. World of Remnant, Beacon Academy. Another one of them just showed up. And now we can't even talk to him. Ruby sighed as she, along with Team RWBY, JNPR, half of SSSN, and Penny, gathered in the Academy's cafeteria. After the two riders had gone into the combat arena to talk in private, most of the crowd had dissipated. They were one of the last few that left the area. Why was that bird guy even looking for Professor Hino in the first place? Yang grumbled, annoyed that she could not find out what the two were up to. It is most likely that Jin was searching for Professor Hino because they are both Kamen Riders. Penny, not completely getting the question, answered as cheerful as always. The others only stared at her blankly. Am I wrong? The robot girl tilted her head quizzically. Well, no, Ruby half-heartedly chuckled at her friend's answer. You know what was odd? Sun, while not usually very perceptive, had noticed something during the two riders' interaction back at the CCT tower. The two of them didn't recognize the other. I noticed that too, Vice agreed with the monkey faunus. Professor Hino didn't know who this new Kamen Rider was, and this Jin asked the professor to confirm he was who he was looking for. Where did that guy even come from? The professor said that Remnant didn't HMPH. Before Nora could finish, Jawn had covered her mouth. Remnant didn't have what? Neptune was starting to get suspicious of the others. They seemed to know much more of the riders than everyone else. And that's not even going into the 2 months that they were missing. Nothing. Jawn nervously tried to cover for his teammates' near slip-up as Nora tried to pull Jawn's hand off her mouth. The two teenagers from Shade narrowed their eyes at the blonde boy as Sun asked him a question. Now that we're not so busy, where were you guys? I heard that General Ironwood had sent lots of men all over Remnant to look for you. And why did you all disappear? Where are Blake and Ren? We were. The two teams, plus Penny, had not come up with a good cover story for any of what Sun just asked. Should we tell them? Nora, loudly, whispered to Ruby. Not here. Realizing there was no escaping the two, Ruby resigned herself to explain to them, is there anywhere we can talk in private? I would say the combat arena, but that's already taken. Jin shouted as he tried to slash the other rider, only for AG to sidestep the attack. Jin, I know this is a test and all, but try not to be so serious about this. AG still did not know how terrible the arc was and didn't know why the Red Falcon rider acted the way he was. I have to be, Jin simply said as he tried to kick Ooh. A better question is why you are not. To be honest, I never really got the idea why riders should always fight each other when they meet. That's why I'm not fighting you seriously. AG dodged another blow from the humor gear. The fact that there was a whole war between the riders still confused him. And then there was the fake war with the Sentai. Why didn't Tsukasa and Gakkai Red at least tell them that there was a secret plan? He seriously thought that he, along with the births, had died. What? As Kamen Riders, we are supposed to save people's lives. For justice, right? Under his mask, AG smiled, reminiscing of his first fight. That was why I put on this belt and fight. Jin stood still as he listened to Ooh. To protect people no matter who or where there is why I became Kamen Rider Ooh. Even now that I'm in another world, I'll still fight, even if it will cost me my life. To reach out my hand to anyone in need. Especially to another Kamen Rider like you. AG took of his driver and smiled at the humor gear. You're just like him, aren't you? The other rider's optimism reminded Jin of someone. If Z can't help us, then there's nothing that can defeat Arc. Leave it to me. Until now, I've been able to fight. All thanks to the company and technology that my grandpa left for me. But I don't work for Hidden Intelligence anymore. I need to find a way to succeed my grandpa on my own. What will you do? Isn't it obvious? I'm gonna come up with a Kamen Rider so awesome that Arc would never expect it. Even when things were dire, he still smiled. Jin remembered 01's smile when he said that. It was identical to the smile that AG had. Was he another Kamen Rider from your world? AG asked. Yes, even when the Arc was unbeatable, he was confident that we would win. Despite me giving up hope, he never stopped fighting. None of the others did. If you had given up hope, then why are you still fighting now? AG asked. Why were you fighting back then? It was to defeat the Arc. Before we knew that it was unstoppable. Once we did, I stopped trying. Then why are you fighting it now? To protect the people of your world. AG asked Jin again. No. There's nothing left in my world now. Then why? Momentarily disregarding that Jin just said that his world was dead, AG continued pressing Jin on. To save someone and to avenge those he killed. That's not just it, isn't it? How about the people here? Even if you wanted to fight the Ark, then why did you come to me? I had nothing to do with this, but you still did. I was told to. I knew that I needed help. If you just needed help, then why are you fighting me now? You know that the Ark is unbeatable, but you still sought me out. Why would you think my help would matter? I don't know. If you don't know, then you'll never win. I know that. Then tell me why you fight. Now knowing that AG would not continue their fight, Jin turned away and took out the burning Falcon Progress key from his driver, the transforming. Where are you going? AG, however, already knew what Jin was about to say. I need to think about this, Jin softly said, walking up the stairs up. Once you do, come look for me again. I'll be around campus. Jin heard as he unlocked the doors and left. With Tsukasa and was. Do you know where that Sentai hang around? Tsukasa was blunt about it. He had asked around town about this world's Sentai and had obviously gotten no good answers. Wasn't really much help as the retainer had simply sat back and watched the destroyer do things on his own. After a couple of hours wasted, along with a quick trip to a pizza shop for lunch, he decided to change things up and started asking about the pin he had. It was then when he finally got something. Isn't it the emblem for that academy? A man that Tsukasa had approached on the streets had recognized the pin. Academy. I heard it decimated a few months back. Interesting. Continuing to ask around all led to the same conclusion. His role was that of a school professor of a destroyed academy. After that, the two of them had walked off and eventually found themselves in a deserted park. For the first time in some time, had broken his silence. Not that our search is over. When will we be leaving? Why would we be leaving? Tsukasa asked as he took a seat on a bench while taking some pictures. Why wouldn't we? Retorted. Even if we leave, where would we be going? The others did not know anything. Why would we try going somewhere only to come up empty-handed? Tsukasa finally admitted that his current course of action wasn't working. Besides, if we just leave, we're likely to extend the wait for Sugo to get his powers back. And it's just as likely that it would shorten it. Yes, that's how 50-50 chances work. So what are we going to do with our followers? The retainer had noticed it earlier in there. Really, it was Tsukasa's search. Let them do what they want. They haven't done anything. Why should we worry? Tsukasa brushed up Waz's. To be honest, the green Kamen Rider did not sound concerned at all. Do you know why they're following us? Of course I do. We've made it obvious that we're looking for the Super Sentai here. They would have heard about it eventually. Isn't that right? Suddenly shouting to someone behind him, Tsukasa closed the flap of his camera as he got up from the bench. Behind him, 5 people appeared. 4 of them were men, while the last being a woman. While they all wore radically different clothes, they had the same twin black braces on their wrists. The only difference between them was that each of their right braces had different colored icons of an animal. So then, who are you, and why are you looking for us? The one in the middle of the group, a young man, dressed in a white shirt and a light blue blazer and white slacks, questioned. And how did you get that pin? Only those from Academia Island have them. Another guy, wearing a yellow and black striped shirt with a white blazer. I don't know, you tell me. Tsukasa, as always, was not taking the confrontation all too seriously. You did all that, and you didn't know what you were doing. They looked at him with disbelief on their face. I knew what I was doing. I just didn't know why. On the other hand, the destroyer looked passive about it before turning to Waz. Hey, deal with them for me, will you? What? The retainer was clearly confused by what Tsukasa said and received a hard shove as a result. Just do it. I want to see how good they are. Hearing that, the 5 took defensive stances, preparing for an imminent fight. Sigh, what did I do deserve this? Waz complained as he took out and put on his Bayon driver. You are. Who are you? Me. I'm just a retainer of the one true king. Not that it would matter to you. Waz. Action. Henshin. Toei. Future time. Sugoi. Jedi. Mirai. Kamen Rider Waz. Jiken Despia. Yarasugi. Summoning his spear, the Herald of Oma Zo prepared for his first fight against the Super Sentai members. "Everyone! Let's go!" the man in the center cried out, rallying his allies. "Yeah!" The five crossed their braces together with a single cry. Liveman. The braces shone brightly, enveloping the five in white light. After a few moments, the light died down, revealing that the five were now wearing near identical suits. The suits were different colors and matched those of their braces: red, blue, yellow, black, and green. Similarly, on their chest was the same logo on each brace with their helmets designed after their respective animals: red falcon, blue dolphin, yellow lion, black bison, green sai, Shuju Sentai, Liveman. Was the roll call really necessary? Chapter 22. Can't you hear the whispers of the raging wind? October 1988. World of Liveman. High above the Earth, unbeknownst to many, a space station orbited the blue planet. The station's inhabitants gathered in a central room with a throne and a large window showing a beautiful view of the Earth. Displayed on a huge monitor was the ongoing battle between the 6 heroes. Those 2 are the ones we were warned about. They don't look like much. A young man dressed in extravagant clothes studied the new Green Warriors' movements as the battle continued. In fact, all of the humans in that room wore outfits that made them stand out in a crowd. "Do not be quick to write him off, Dr. Kemp. That man warned us that doing so would be our undoing." An older man sitting on the throne scolded his underling. The man, clearly the leader of the group, instead of watching the fight like the others, was focused on the one who was taking photos of the battle. A man will soon appear accompanied by a warrior, unlike the heroes of this world. No matter what you will think of, he is the devil and will lead this world towards its destruction. A man in a fisher hat had given him a message a few weeks prior, appearing from out of nowhere. Had it not been for the fact that that man appeared in their space station and addressed him without any fear, the leader of this group would have ignored him. "Dr. Mazender, have you completed the new brain beast?" The man turned to the only female in the group. "Yes, great Professor Bias. It had been outfitted with the machine you entrusted to me." She bowed as she answered her leader. Dr. Kemp, next to her, grimaced upon hearing Dr. Mazender saying, "Untrusted, it is awaiting my orders." In addition to the warning, the intruder had given Bias a strange machine. "When he arrives, use this dimensional machine to expel him from this world. Only then will your world survive." While his students had created a brain beast that could manipulate time and some that distorted space, none of them made one related with other dimensions. Needless to say, he had tasked one of them to make one using the dimensional machine. All they needed now was the chance to use it. "What are you up to?" The Red Warrior and leader of the Liveman, Red Falcon, demanded as he brought down his falcon saber onto Kamen Rider was, only for the blow to be blocked by the Green Rider's spear. "I am as in the dark as you. I'm simply following him at the moment." The retainer answered simply as he jumped back and took out the Shinobi Miride watch. "It is decade that you would want to be questioning. Toei. Future time. Der Ya. Or Ya. Ninja. Futuring Shinobi. Shinobi. Kamishisugi. A ninja." Yellow Lion briefly paused to glance at the now purple and white Kamen Rider wielding a sickle. After a moment, he then realized what that meant. "Don't tell me." Kamen Rider was futuring Shinobi, in a blink of an eye, turned into a purple blur. Before any of the Livemen could react, sparks flew from their suits as the blur leaped past them, sending them rolling on the ground. "Damn it! Lion bazooka!" Yellow Lion grunted before pulling out his personal weapon, the yellow hand cannon with red stripes. Decorating the top of the barrel of the gun was a metal lion head. Dolphin arrow. At the same time, Blue Dolphin pulled out a massive white and blue bow with the limbs of the bow designed to look like dolphins. "Let's go, Lion." The two then did their best to try aiming for Was as he jumped around them. As expected of trying to shoot down a ninja, all of their shots missed. "I'll help too. Sai cutters," Green Sai announced, summoning a pair of white and green boomerangs. Throwing his Sai cutters, the dual boomerangs flew through the air, chasing after the rider from another world. Eventually, if only by a stroke of luck, the boomerangs found their target, making Woz slow down in midair. This brief moment was all Blue Dolphin and Yellow Lion needed to shoot him down. Let's go, Bison. Got it, Falcon. Bison Rod. Taking advantage of the new opening, Black Bison charged his Bison Rod, a long black and silver staff, as Red Falcon leaped high in the air. As the poles of his weapon glowed purple, Black Bison slashed through thin air, sending 2 purple slashes at Woz. Falcon Break. As Black Bison's attacks hit their target, Red Falcon brought down his sword as he dropped back onto the Kamen Rider. Cutting Woz vertically, the clock-based rider fell backward, sparks and smoke coming off his body as he dropped to the ground. The other 4 Livemen ran up to their leader, holstering their weapons. We did it. Green Sai was the first to celebrate their victory. What do we do with that guy? Wait. Not yet. Red Falcon stopped the Green Liveman, feeling that something was off with how easily their opponent went down, trying to peer through the smoke. As the smoke cleared, it was apparent that Red Falcon was right. Just as he thought, instead of the Kamen Rider, a double made out of hay lay there, wearing the top piece of futuring Shinobi's armor. Where did he go? Beyond the time. Ninpou, Jiken Shibari no Jutsu. Ichigeki Kamen. Before the Red Liveman could finish, he, along with the others, was sent flying as several purple blurs attacked them. You 5 are certainly skilled. The retainer praised the Liveman as they tried to get up, the attack taking them by surprise. Your teamwork is admirable. Woz. That's enough. Up until then, Tsukasa had been standing by the sidelines, taking photos of the battle. The Destroyer of Worlds slowly walked up to the injured Sentai warriors. Now then, what are we doing next? What? Red Falcon groaned in pain as he and his team stood up. The transforming. Who are you? How long have the 5 of you been fighting together? Tsukasa ignored the question, instead preferring to take some close-up shots of the Livemen's faces. With how much in sync all of you were, I assume it had been nearly a year. He did not know why, but that was the average time both a rider and a Sentai are active. Why should we be telling you that? Ow! The boy, who was Black Bison, made it apparent that he did not trust the traveler. He looked slightly younger than most of his comrades, excluding Green Sai. Tetsu, be careful. The youngest looking of the 5, the aforementioned Green Sai, rushed to the Black Liveman's side before turning to Tsukasa. Why were you looking for us? I already said it. I don't know either. But if I'm here, in a world without Kamen Riders, then something is happening. He cryptically answered. A world without Kamen Riders? What are you talking about? Are you an alien too? Yellow Lion narrowed his eyes at the 2 as if expecting them to turn into monsters. Are the 2 of you related to Volt? The last member of the team, Blue Dolphin, asked them directly. From how she said it, Tsukasa assumed that Volt was who the Liveman was fighting against. He didn't exactly know much about the team as they had only met once during the incident with Dai Shocker and Dai Zenier. Even then, he did not speak a word towards them directly. That is not even including the fact that the war is still in the Liveman's future. Probably not. Now, what do you need help with? It was best to get it over with and move on to the next world. The Liveman, on the other hand, only looked at him in confusion. Help! Green Sai repeated. Not saying anything. Whatever. Woz, let's go. Without waiting for the 5 to snap out of their confusion, Tsukasa opened a dimensional wall and dragged the silent retainer away. What just happened? World of Remnant, Beacon Academy. Can you run that by us again? The story was, if Sun can describe it in a couple of words, utterly ridiculous. Beacon's newest professor are visitors from other universes. The 9 of them were stuck in one of said universes, and Blake and Ren were abducted by a friend of Professor Kadoya, while the 2 of them were out traveling alongside another Kamen Rider. The whole thing or just the important bits? RWBY nervously chuckled at the monkey Faunus's reaction. It really shouldn't be surprising. If she were the one hearing this story from someone else, she would not believe it either. Okay, maybe she would. After leaving the cafeteria, the group went off to look for a safe place to talk. Due to Kamen Rider Jin's over-the-top arrival, most of the school was abuzz with activity. It took a long time before they found a good spot. They tried to go to the dormitory roof, but Jorn had shot that down, saying something about it not being as secluded as one may think. In the end, they went into an unused lecture hall. So this other planet, Earth, right? What was it like? Neptune was more interested in the world they visited. While he was divided on whether or not they were telling the truth or not, he still wanted to know more about the other universe. No clue. The professor kept us cooped up in his house the entire time. Yang was still salty about that. She was on a completely different planet, and all she did was sleep and lazed around. Right, it was just a day for you guys. They mentioned something about time moving slower in other universes. From their perspective, the two teams were only away for slightly over a day. Does that count as time travel? We skipped ahead 2 months. Jorn couldn't help but wonder about that. Technically, we kind of did time traveled. Too bad we can't go the other way. RWBY sighed. Unbeknownst to them, Professor Kadoya had the ability to travel through time. I think I'm getting a headache. Sun massaged his forehead to help alleviate the incoming migraine. He's usually one to accept things as they appear, but this day had been a bit too much. And it wasn't even noon yet. I'm gonna get some fresh air. Yeah, Yang and I need to try calling our dad. He hasn't been answering his scroll. RWBY tried to contact her father earlier, but Taiyang Xiao Long didn't pick up. The only reason she wasn't as worried as she should be, with how many people were going missing recently, was that Osborne had mentioned that their families were fine when they were in his office. We better leave soon. Even if no one uses this room, we shouldn't stay here too long. Pyrrha hadn't gotten the chance to call her mother, as her scroll had died since they were in that other universe. She had left it charging back in JNPR's dorm when they had gone off to see Jin's spectacle at the CCT tower. Let's all meet up again later. As the group left, Penny decided to split away from them. She still needed to try and find General Ironwood. Subconsciously, she was still trying to decide on whether or not she should inform him of the nature of Tsukasa Kadoya. She did not doubt that the general would want to know what happened, and the part of her wanted to keep her promise to RWBY and not tell anyone. Deciding it would be easier to go to Professor Osborne, the secret robot girl skipped her way back to the tower in the center of Beacon. On her way there, however, she spotted someone she recognized walking alone. The young man in a suit didn't seem to have spotted her yet. Even if he did, Penny doubted that he would know who she was. Despite the fact she wanted to return to the general, she thought it was still polite to introduce herself at least. Salutations. She let out her usual greeting. Jin, who had been wandering aimlessly since he left the combat arena, turned around to see a teenage girl skipping towards him. I'm Penny Polendina. It's nice to meet you. 2020, World of Double, somewhere in Futo. A strong but gentle wind blew through the city as the sun shined high in the sky. Stretching his arms for a moment, Sugo sighed as he leaned back into his seat. Along with Blake and Ren, he sat around a table of a rooftop cafe while one half of the two-in-one detective was conversing with someone the next table over. Man. It's nice to be out and about on a day like this. Sugo took a deep breath, relaxing as he waited for Shitaro to finish up. You can really be carefree, can't you? Blake, unlike the former rider, was more tensed up. Learning of the dark organization that was working in the shadows of Remnant had worried her, to say the least. Seeing as we can't return to your world without Kadoya or Kaito, there's not much we can do at the moment. Sugo pointed out that fact, so let's just kick back and relax while we can. When we get back, who knows how busy we'll be while we try to stop Foundation X. Easy for you to say, the Faunus muttered under her breath. As anxious as I am, Sugo does have a point. Ren admitted, this may be the last time in a long while that we will be able to relax. On an unrelated topic, have you remembered more of your old life, Sugo? Ren turned to the happy-go-lucky teen. Kind of. It's still a bit of a blur. Sugo reached into his pocket and took out the blank ride watch he was given. I still can't remember why I wanted to be king. Everything else had come naturally to me. Like his meetings with the past riders. He even remembered how he had gotten the double ride watch. Not too long before White Waz came around, the first another double had been stirring trouble in Tokyo. At the suggestion of Waz, Sugo, Geitz, and Tsukuyomi visited Futo in search of the Kamen rider it was based on. It was there that they ran into a hard-boiled detective in a white fedora along with his two protégés. Wait a minute. Sugo paused for a moment. Where did that cool guy go? What? Blake stared blankly at the confused teen, not knowing where this was coming from. I remember there was this cool-looking guy that owned Shotaro and Phillips' agency. Sugo told them. I mean, back when I met them in my old timeline. I wonder what happened to him. Why don't you ask Shotaro then? Ren suggested. I'm not sure if I should. Was told me that when the another riders are created, then the rider and all they did they were based on would be erased from history. Like how some people came back to life. Sugo revealed. That means that guy would be dead if he's not around, right? How did, in the span of a few days, talking about other universes and different timelines become normal? Blake asked mostly to herself. October 1988, World of Liveman. Somewhere in the sea near Japan, a great base lies underneath the waves, hidden to the world at large. Known as the Grand Tortoise, this base serves as the home and headquarters of this world's heroes. After their brief scuffle with a new foe, the Livemen returned to their home to rest and recuperate. One of the Livemen, however, was not in the best of moods. How did we get beaten so easily like that? O'Hara Joe, also known as Yellow Lion, was grumbling as he, along with his teammates, made their way to the main room of the base. Just when we thought that we beat them, that guy pulls a dirty trick like that. We get it, Joe. You're angry we lost. Masaki Megumi, Blue Dolphin, was getting sick and tired of listening to Joe's complaining. Stop shouting already. Don't forget. We were still tired from that fight earlier. Aikawa Junichi, Green Sai, reminded his senior. Shortly before hearing that someone was looking for them, the Livemen had fought against a brain beast that Volt had created. If we were in tip-top shape, I'm sure we would have won. Still hurts. We've been fighting for nearly 8 months now, and we're still having trouble. Joe continued whining. Does that really matter? Junichi and I have only been Livemen for a few weeks and still managed to hold our own. Yano Tetsuya, Black Bison, said. I guess that's true, Joe admitted. How about you, Yusuke? What do you think of those two? The final member of the Livemen, Amamiya Yusuke, Red Falcon, snapped out of his thoughts at his friend's question. That man only wanted to test us. Whatever it is, we better be careful. I meant if you think we could have beaten him. Joe deadpanned at Yusuke's response. Regardless if we won or not, that man. Decade was interested in us. I'm sure that we'll be seeing him soon again, Yusuke said. You still haven't answered my question, Joe retorted, opening the door. Everyone. You're back. A girl's voice called out at their entrance. Standing by some of the monitors in the walls, a red and black android resembling a woman greeted them. You're all safe. Of course we are, Junichi reassured their mechanical companion. Someone like that would not be enough to keep us down. Who were those guys anyway? Tetsuya asked. He called himself a Kamen rider, right? Yeah. That Decade guy also said something about this place being a world without Kamen rider. What's up with that? Is there anything from about them on our database? Megumi asked the android girl. No, nothing. Shook her head. Great. Joe was being sarcastic. First, they got their asses handed to them, and there was absolutely nothing they knew about who attacked them. Suddenly, the monitors came back online. Displayed on the screens was a strange scene if viewed out of context. Somewhere in the city, a group of green figures with silver masks were attacking people. The Livemen, however, understood what it meant. Jinmas. Having fought the footmen of Volt for so long, they immediately recognized the robotic minions. Damn it. Can't we get a break today? Unknown world. Is the attack force ready yet? Yes, Overseer. Good. Prepare the dimensional machine. Affirmative. It took a long time. Nearly a whole month of planning went into choosing and creating the right dummy Kaijin. Now, Foundation X's attack against the Kamen Riders in Beacon is on its way. To be continued.